Toronto, perched on the northwest shore of Lake Ontario, transformed from a muddy garrison town into British North America's most important commercial centre. Its magnificent harbour, strategic position on inland trade routes, and arrival of the railways turned it into one of Canada's great cities. Today, advanced AI technology allows us to transform historic photographs and paintings into photorealistic recreations, bringing these lost streets back to life. Join me as we step into the Toronto our ancestors once knew. Fort York was where it all began. In 1793, Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe established a military garrison and the new capital of Upper Canada on the shores of Lake Ontario. He named it York after Prince Frederick, Duke of York. At this stage, York was nothing but wilderness, a handful of wooden buildings and muddy trails carved through dense forest. Indigenous peoples, particularly the Mississaugas, had lived here for generations, calling the area Toronto, meaning where there are trees standing in the water. The Battle of York in April 1813 burned the young capital to the ground. During the War of 1812, American forces attacked and captured York, looting and burning the Parliament buildings and Lieutenant Governor's residence. The explosion of the British powder magazine killed over 250 American soldiers. In retaliation, American troops set fire to everything of value. When they sailed away, York lay in smoking ruins. By the 1830s, York had grown into a proper town. On March 6, 1834, with a population of 9,000, the settlement was incorporated as the City of Toronto, reclaiming its Indigenous name. William Lyon Mackenzie became the first mayor. The city's first grand public building, St. Lawrence Hall, would rise in 1850 in the heart of the Market District. This magnificent Renaissance revival structure, with its distinctive domed clock tower, served as Toronto's main venue for public meetings, concerts, and celebrations. Its elegant proportions and classical details announced Toronto's civic ambitions. St. James Cathedral dominated Toronto's skyline. The Gothic revival structure, rebuilt after an 1849 fire and completed in 1874, stood as the tallest building in Canada for decades. Its soaring stone spire reached 92 meters into the sky, visible for miles across the flat landscape. The cathedral's location on King Street symbolized the close relationship between church and commerce in Victorian Toronto. The arrival of railways in the 1850s transformed Toronto's economy. The Grand Trunk and Great Western Railways brought goods and people flooding into the city. Toronto became the hub connecting eastern Canada to the western frontier. By 1860, Toronto's population had swelled to 45,000, with brick row houses packing the streets radiating from the downtown core. The Gooderham and Worts distillery became the world's largest distillery by the 1860s. Located along the eastern waterfront, this massive complex of Victorian, industrial buildings churned out whiskey using grain transported by rail and ship. The distillery employed hundreds and made the Gooderham family fabulously wealthy. Smoke billowed from its chimneys, mixing with coal smoke from factories and homes. The 1880s and 1890s marked Toronto's architectural golden age. The Ontario legislature, completed in 1892 in Queen's Park, showcased Richardsonian Romanesque style with its massive scale and richly textured stonework. In 1892, the Gooderham Building, Toronto's iconic flatiron structure, rose at Front and Wellington. Built for distiller George Gooderham, this 5-story wedge of red brick featured Romanesque and French Gothic revival details. Its dramatic triangular shape made it one of the city's most photographed buildings. Old City Hall, designed by E.J. Lennox and completed in 1899, became Toronto's crowning achievement. This massive Richardsonian Romanesque structure took 11 years to build. Its off-center clock tower, standing over 100 meters tall, aligned perfectly with Bay Street, the heart of Toronto's emerging financial district. The building's sandstone exterior featured intricate medieval carvings and gargoyles. Lennox even carved his own face into the stonework. The 1890s saw dramatic changes in urban life. Horse-drawn streetcars gave way to electric trams. Telephone wires crisscrossed above the roadways. Electric lights illuminated shop windows along Yonge and King Streets. Department stores like Eaton's and Simpson's rose as multi-story retail palaces. The harbour remained crowded with ships loading grain, timber, and manufactured goods. Stores like Eaton's and Simpson's rose as multi-story retail palaces, serving Toronto's growing middle class. By 1900, Toronto's population had reached 208,000. The city stretched north from the lake, with prosperous residential neighbourhoods developing in Rosedale, the Annex, and along tree-lined streets in Parkdale. Working-class districts clustered near factories in the East End and along the waterfront. Waves of British immigrants continued arriving, joined by growing numbers from Italy, Eastern Europe, and China. Toronto remained decidedly British in character, loyal to Queen and Empire, conservative in temperament. The city's skyline, still dominated by church spires and the old City Hall clock tower, reflected Victorian values. No building rose above 7 stories. The tallest was the Beard Building, completed in 1894. Streets remained largely unpaved, turning to mud in spring and choking with dust in summer. Yet beneath this Victorian exterior, Toronto was modernizing rapidly. Underground sewers replaced open drains. A professional fire department protected against the devastating fires that had plagued earlier decades. Toronto, at the turn of the century, was no longer muddy York, but a fully realized wall city. Its solid Victorian architecture, built to last from stone and brick, its extensive railway connections, its bustling harbour, and its established financial institutions, positioned it for the dramatic growth of the 20th century. The city had transformed from a garrison outpost to Canada's economic engine, ready to embrace the modern age.